Hi, I'm Andrew from Creative Guitar Studio. It is Friday, April 30th, 2010, and I'm just going to spend some time here going through some questions that have come off my website recently. The first question is going to come to us from Hut. He wrote in saying, "Hi Andrew, I would like to ask how you create PDF files with tab and notation. What programs do you use?" Well, around the studio here, I use Powertab, I use GuitarPro 5, I use Finale 2010, and to render out to PDF, I have Adobe Acrobat Professional 8, and when you install Adobe Acrobat Professional, you get the print drivers where you can print to PDF. So basically, that's how I'm able to go to PDF out of those other pieces of software. Now, being really in the simplest sense, in the most friendly and easy to use, I'd have to say Powertab would top the list. Plus, it's free. I have had problems with GuitarPro where things have frozen on me and I've lost files and things have become corrupt. So GuitarPro, actually I haven't had too much problems with GuitarPro 5, but some of the older ones I have some serious problems with. But the really nice one is Finale 2010. I mean, that's an amazing program, but it's got a massive learning curve to it. It's just pretty complicated. But if you spend the time to learn how to use it, it's an absolutely fantastic program. Okay, so let's head to the next question here. It's from Eddie. He's writing in, he's saying, "I'm having problems using a pick. I've tried different ones, but it doesn't feel good, especially on the upstrokes. I see people like the great Wes Montgomery mostly used his fingers. What can I do?" Well, you have to keep in mind there's three ways of holding a pick, or using a pick, pardon me. You can use a flat pick, for a style of just regular playing, and you can use a pick and fingers for doing hybrid. There's lots of really cool things you can do with hybrid picking. And then the third way of playing is if you just basically put the pick down and you just use your fingers. It's great for fingerstyle. So this is the three ways of playing, and if you want to study all of them and get good at all of them, it's going to take some time. But if you are not too interested in doing all three, just pick one that you find is your preferred favorite way, your most comfortable way, and use that. But it does take practice in it, and you have to remember with any idea of technique, whatever it may be, there's a lot of work that has to go into real non-musical practice, where it's just exercise work. It's like for flat pick playing. You could do studies where you maybe take a run and play it all along the neck, something like maybe something like that. Just come up with a sequence and then just move it along your whole guitar neck. Turn a metronome on, really get it into a good rate and pace, and try and really push yourself on the time. Maybe turn a metronome off and just try and go with pure adrenaline, see how fast you can play, things like that. But always go for clarity and good control. I guess that's pretty much the deal with all three of those types of approaches. Let's say if you're even practicing fingerstyle, come up with some exercises. Learn how to do Travis picking. I did a YouTube video on Travis picking. That stuff's really good. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's go. I got time for one more question. Let's go to another one. This one comes to us from Richard, and he writes in here saying, "I have a pretty good grip on how to implement major and minor pentatonic and the scales, but when it comes to trying to add diminished into my playing, I just can't get the right timing to add diminished. How can I add some diminished ideas to my licks?" Well, first of all, you got to get really good at the diminished scale. It's like anything else. If you wanted to play a scale like a major scale and improvise with it, you got to get a really good handle on that scale. Same with diminished. If you want to play diminished runs and diminished lines, you got to have a really good handle on that scale. You practice the daylight side of it. So I always tell people, practice a scale up to the point where you can play the scale and you can hold a conversation with somebody that it's not even in your conscious mind anymore. It's just all totally unconscious. Then you really know that you've got that scale down. But aside from that, I get a lot of questions a lot of times for people with diminished, even in the studio here. And diminished is a little complex thing to work with because you have to understand it's mostly used over dominant seventh chords, so you have to understand how the process of diminished seventh chord substitutes operate. See, with the dominant seventh chord, let's say if we went to an A dominant seventh chord, a diminished seventh substitute off that would occur off of the major third, the C sharp. So if you're going to play against an A dominant seventh chord using diminished scale, you would go off of the C sharp. And then you've got options that you can go half whole or you can go whole half. So they both do different things. Also, you have to remember any note of the diminished chord could possibly be a root. So, like C sharp diminished chord is also the same as an E diminished. It's also the same as a G. It's also the same as a B flat. So, there's a lot of information you have to have under your belt to be able to do this well. Another thing, too, is, when we go look at the dominant 7th chord, you have to understand how they operate, in terms of, like, you can have secondary dominant substitutions where you could apply the diminished substitute over. You could have flat 5 subs where you could apply the diminished, substitute over. So there's a bucket load of theory here that you actually have to have under your belt to really be able to utilize this well. Aside from the fact that you've really got to have a good handle on diminished scale, because if you don't have your diminished scale together, how are you supposed to really, be able to use it? To get it together, though, one of the good tips I can give you on that direction is just sit down and write licks. Even if you just take a piece of tab paper and just write licks, come up with ideas. Like the half hole is one of my more favorite approaches. Half hole gives you flat 9 and it gives you a sharp 5 and it contains all your chord tones except for your root. But plus it also, it has a major 7 and it has a flat 9, so you can kind of surround that root note of that dominant 7th chord. And I'm doing my explanation here of the chord tone relationships, pointing more in the direction of that dominant 7th chord. Anyway, as you can kind of tell, it's pretty complex stuff. You have to have a lot of stuff under your belt to really be able to utilize it well. Anyway, that's pretty much all the time I have for today. I'll be blogging again next week, so until then, take care and keep writing in with your questions. I always appreciate hearing from everyone. But bye for now. I'll see you next time.